As William then sits and waits for the next scroll, um, he kind of looks around and admires how big this library is. Daenerys finally comes up with a scroll and places it in front of him. This scroll here is going to be just as large as the one you learned about of King Aenys the First and King Maegor the First. Really, how big can this scroll be? Well, when you read it, um, the old king, as the House of Targaryen refers to him as, because he reigned for at least 55 years. Wow, that's quite some time. Yes, he was the longest reigning king for the House of Targaryen. Anyway, he had 13 children. 13 children? No human female in my world, in the dark blue star that shines brightly in the blaring night sky known as Earth, would have ever had that many children. Well, I guess there is a difference between human females and the females of my world. Yes, I would imagine so. uh, Not to speak ill, but man, she must have kept him busy, or, well, she kind of looks at him somewhat of a serious nature. Never mind. I don't suppose that I would be able to give you that many children. She has a smile about this. No, and you weren't planning on trying to keep me busy in the chambers all the time, were you? Well, no. I mean, like you said, you have other duties to attend. Yes, that is true. Had you came to my world when I was a young Targaryen girl, perhaps, maybe, I would have had that many. But you didn't come to my world, and I didn't discover you on the beach of Slaver's Bay until well after the White Walker Wars. And of course, um, she thinks a moment about when her and Jon Snow were together. And after the situations had occurred, and of course the Society of Fire and Blood had brought me back from the symbolical abyss so that I could continue that which is rightfully mine, my claim for the Iron Throne. And perhaps, all in all, taking everything in from my being back from the spirit world and having discovered you is all part of destiny. Well, it's got to be a good destiny. Yes, it is, William. So, I suppose if I want to have 6 children with you, that'd be fine. She kind of looks down with a smile. Doesn't say anything and taps on the scroll. William takes this might be a good time to not say another word and to keep himself out of trouble. So he starts his next study of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. Jaehaerys I Targaryen. King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, also known as the Conciliator, the Wise, or the Old King, was the fourth Targaryen king to sit on the Iron Throne. He ascended the throne in 48 AC following the death of his uncle, King Maegor I Targaryen. Jaehaerys was the longest reigning Targaryen monarch, sitting on the throne for 55 years. He was a dragon rider, riding Vermithorn, the largest dragon, after Balerion and Vagon. His appearance and character. According to a semi-canon source, Jaehaerys had the purple eyes and silver hair of House Targaryen. He looked wise and dignified, even into his later years, with a long, white, flowing beard reaching to his waist. Even at an old age, Jaehaerys still stood unstooped. He dressed in flowing robes of black and gold, and wore as a crown a simple band of yellow gold ornamented with 7 gems of different colors. Jaehaerys was a gifted horseman and a descent warrior skilled with both lance and bow. Above all, he was wise beyond his years, decisive in both thought and deed. He always sought the most peaceable ends. In history of his early life, Jaehaerys was the third son and fourth child of Prince Daenerys Targaryen and his wife, Lady Alyssa Valerian. He was born in 34 AC in King's Landing. He had 2 older brothers, Aegon and Viserys, an older sister, Rhaena, and 2 younger sisters, Alysanne and Daela. When his grandfather, King Aegon I, died on Dragonstone in 37 AC, his father Aenys ascended the throne. Followers of the Faith of the Seven began an uprising after King Aenys I married Jaehaerys' 2 eldest siblings, Rhaena and Aegon, to one another in 41 AC. After 4 fellows scaled the walls of the Red Keep in an attempt to murder the royal family, Jaehaerys fled with his parents and siblings to Dragonstone. At the end of the year, most of the realm had joined the side of the Faith, and King Aenys, unable to decide how to deal with the rebels, fell ill. In 42 AC, collapsed upon learning that Rhaena and Aegon were besieged at Great Hall and died 3 days later. Following Aenys' cremation, Dowager Queen Visenya Targaryen flew to Pentos to retrieve her son Maegor from his exile. Once at Dragonstone, Maegor claimed the Iron Throne for his own, ignoring the claim of Jaehaerys' eldest brother Aegon. Jaehaerys, his sister Alysanne, and his mother Alyssa were kept on Dragonstone as hostages, while his brother Viserys was taken to King's Landing by Maegor. Aegon died in 43 AC when he was killed by Maegor during the Battle Beneath the God's Eye. In the chaos following Visenya's death in 44 AC, Jaehaerys, his sister Alysanne, and his mother Alyssa managed to flee. In retaliation, Maegor had Viserys tortured to death. In 47 AC, Maegor forced 3 widows of proven fertility to marry him in one ceremony. They were known as the Black Brides. One of these Black Brides was Jaehaerys' eldest sister, Rhaena. Still without a child of his own, Maegor officially disinherited Jaehaerys and proclaimed Rhaena's daughter, Arya, as his heir. However, the realm slowly turned against Maegor, and when Jaehaerys put forward his claim for the throne, he unified the factions that opposed Maegor. The first great lord to openly proclaim for Jaehaerys was Lord Robar Baratheon of Storm's End. Other great houses followed, including House Lannister, and although they had originally joined Maegor against Prince Aegon, House Tully. Rhaena, Jaehaerys' sister, fled from Maegor on her dragon after learning about Jaehaerys' claim, stealing the Valerian steel sword, Blackfire, from him in the process. 2 of Maegor's King's Guard knights joined Jaehaerys as well. Early reign. Following Maegor's mysterious death in 48 AC, Jaehaerys was crowned by the High Septon of his father's crown, as he was only 14 years old. Jaehaerys' mother, Dowager Queen Alyssa Valerian, served as regent during the first 2 years of Jaehaerys' reign. Lord Robar Baratheon, whom Jaehaerys had named Lord Protector of the Realm and Hand of the King, further provided guidance for the king. When it reached the age of majority, Jaehaerys married his younger sister, Alysanne.
Although Jaehaerys had received support from the Faith of the Seven, the issues between the Faith and House of Targaryen were not yet solved. About a decade into his reign, he became acquainted with Septon Barth, a brilliant man of common birth who tended to books and records in the Red Keep's library. Jaehaerys soon named him Hand of the King, a position he kept for 40 years. Together with Barth, Jaehaerys reconciliated the Iron Throne and the Faith through some of Jaehaerys' counselors upon the and part of the history of Horribly is missing. Something to him to deal with remnants of the Faith militant partially and eliminate them entirely, and others wanted Jaehaerys to ensure that the Faith was unanswerable to the same justice as the rest of the king's subjects. Jaehaerys chose a different path. The king sent Septon Barth to Old Town to speak with the High Septon. Eventually, Jaehaerys agreed to pardon all those of the Faith who would set aside their swords, while the Faith agreed to set aside their traditional right of judging their own, accept justice from the throne from that moment before it. Jaehaerys swore to the Faith that the crown would always protect and defend the Faith. With these agreements, the rift between the crown and the Faith was healed. As a side note, his youngest sister, Jaela, was born, and unfortunately, she had died as a sibling. This would have caused the mother, Alyssa, much grief. But it wasn't long then that his mother then would be betrothed to the first hand of the king of the House of Targaryen, and thus two more children would be born. This then would of course mean he would have a half-brother and a half-sister. Besides dealing with the Faith, Jaehaerys and Barth worked together to further reform the realm. Jaehaerys created the first unified code of law, ordered drains and sewers and wells constructed in King's Landing, as Barth was convinced that fresh water and flushing away of offal and waste were important to the health of the city, and constructed the King's Road. Further, convinced by Alysanne, Jaehaerys abolished the Lord's right to the first knight. Jaehaerys also forced the Starks to donate a portion of land, which was renamed the New Gift to the Night's Watch. While in current times, it is said that Lord Stark was glad to do so. Historical documents imply that the Starks had been bitter about Jaehaerys' decision. Jaehaerys further attempted to put an end to the war between House Bracken and House Blackwood in the Riverlands. And although he managed to forge a peace between the two houses, it endured only half a century and did not long outlast his reign. Jaehaerys was known for his love of travel. The king and queen were known to stay at the inn at the crossroads during their journeys, so much so that afterwards it was renamed the Two Crowns. Jaehaerys visited the north at least once, together with Queen Alysanne, 6 dragons, and half his court. His grandson, Viserys, once told his grandchildren a tale of Jaehaerys flying north to defeat a vast host of wildlings, giants, and wargs at the wall. Abundance of heirs. Jaehaerys was married to his sister Alysanne. She is considered to have been his great love, and their marriage was a happy one. They had 13 children, though only 9 lived to adulthood. The eldest boy of these was Prince Aemon, who was married to Jaehaerys' half-sister, Jocelyn Baratheon. The next son was Daemon, who married his sister, Alyssa. Aemon was Jaehaerys' heir, but only had a daughter himself, Rhaenys. When he died in 92 AC, Jaehaerys decided to name his son Balon as his new heir, passing over Aemon's daughter Rhaenys. This decision caused the second quarrel between Jaehaerys and his sister wife, who believed that if Jaehaerys felt that a woman was of less use than a man, he did not need her anymore. They were reconciled in 94 AC by their daughter Maegelle. Balon renamed Jaehaerys heir until his death in 101 AC, at which point Jaehaerys called the First Great Council to decide the line of succession for the throne, with help from the Lords of the Realm. In the end, Balon's eldest son, Prince Viserys, was named Prince of Dragonstone. Late reign. In 98 AC, a great tourney was held in King's Landing to celebrate King Jaehaerys' 50th year on the throne. All of Jaehaerys' living children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren were present in the final challenge. Sir Ridden and Sir Clement Crabbe broke 30 lances against each other before King Jaehaerys proclaimed them co-champions, in what is often called the finest display of jousting in Westerosi history. However, the final years of Jaehaerys' reign were also filled with great tragedies for the king. In 99 AC, Jaehaerys' close friend and hand of the king, Septon Barth, died. He was replaced as Ham by Sir Ryam Redmond, the Lord Commander of the King's Guard. However, although he was a great knight, Sir Ryam proved most unsuited for the office and held the office less than a year. Jaehaerys replaced Sir Ryam as his hand with his son Balon. Following Balon's sudden death in 101 AC, Sir Otto Hightower was named Hand of the King. Also at 99 AC, Jaehaerys' youngest daughter, Gael, died, having drowned herself in the Blackwater. Grieving for her most beloved daughter, Queen Alysanne, died less than a year later. The deaths of Alysanne and Balon especially reduced Jaehaerys to a shell of the man he had once been. His strength and wits began to fail him, and towards the end, Jaehaerys was confined to his bed. The young daughter of his hand, Lady Alysanne Hightower, took over his care. At times, Jaehaerys confused her for one of his daughters, and towards the end, he was certain she was Princess Saera, who had fled across the narrow sea many years before. At the age of 69, Jaehaerys died in excuse me, it was a lot of history. In 103 AC, his body was cremated in the dragon pit. His ashes were interred with Alysanne's ashes beneath the Red Keep. His realm mourned, as did Dorne. The legacy of Jaehaerys was the longest ruling Targaryen monarch, having ruled for 55 years. Because of this, he is referred to as the Old King. His reign is remembered as the most prosperous period in the history of the Targaryen monarchy. His reign brought peace, stability, and justice to the Seven Kingdoms. Jaehaerys is possibly the best king that Westeros ever saw, and is regarded as such by many historians and laymen. Jaehaerys' grandson and successor, Viserys I Targaryen, wore Jaehaerys' crown. When Viserys died in 129 AC, his eldest son, Aegon, ascended the throne instead of Viserys' proclaimed heir, Rhaenyra, which was the start of the war known as the Dance of the Dragons. Sir Stephen Darklin of the King's Guard and his retainers defected to Rhaenyra's faction at Dragonstone. With them, they brought the crown Jaehaerys I and Viserys I had worn. Prince Daemon Targaryen, Rhaenyra's husband and uncle, used this crown during Rhaenyra's coronation. Small council under Jaehaerys I. During the long reign of King Jaehaerys, his small council had the following known members: Regent, Hand of the King, Master of Coin, Lord Commander of the King's Guard. There are many, or at least a few titles that he went by: King of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men. He was also known as Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. So pretty much, I think that's pretty much all the history, but there is going to be some more about how many dragons he had, and if possible, all the named children that were of his. This is a review of the dragons, as has been covered in the complete history of Daenerys I Targaryen, and during his long reign of 55 years. If you remember correctly, he occasionally would once, in the Great Cloud, visit the north up by Winterfell. And when he visited, there was a total of 6 dragons. The dragons that are a total of 6 are those that were not either killed in battle, died of old age, or had somehow met a bad fate. The first dragon, of course, as we all know, would have been the one called the Valerian, which King Aegon first had. Then, because King Maegor I, the Cruel, didn't seem to find any dragon eggs that he thought were worthy of him, he pretty much inherited his father, King Aegon I, dragon. But eventually it had been reclaimed, even though King Maegor I's dragon, or at least his brother, King Aenys the First dragon, was Quicksilver. But as we already know, King Aenys the First Targaryen's dragon was also inherited by the heir to the throne after King Aenys the First Targaryen had passed away. And both he and Quicksilver, of course, were destroyed by King Maegor I, who was riding Valerian. The other surviving dragon is King Maegor I's mother, Queen Dowager Visenya. Her dragon's name was Vhagar. Unfortunately, as we already know, the mother to King Daenerys I, her, which is Rhaenys dragon, unfortunately got shot in the eye by some type of scorpion bolt-like weapon from the people of Dorne, and thus her body was never found because they didn't know whether she had gotten crushed by the dragon, got caught, got tortured to death. Nobody seems to really know. So that dragon was gone. The next dragon, third for the surviving dragon, is Dreamfire. And as everybody recalls, Dreamfire is the dragon that one of the three Black Brides, Rhaenyra Targaryen, had used when she heard the good news that King Jaehaerys I Targaryen was staking his claim on the throne. So she had the opportunity to take herself and her two daughters out from Dragonstone and away from the situation that was still under deception of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. Dragon Vermithor, as everybody knows, was King Jaehaerys I Targaryen's personal dragon. It was the third largest next to Valerian, and Visenya's former dragon, Vhagar. Jaehaerys' wife, sister wife, Queen Alysanne's dragon, was the one known as Trishko. Kind of an interesting name for a dragon. And then, of course, the last one, which was fairly new, was a dragon named, I believe that's pronounced Shrikos. So that's a total of 6 dragons. Now here's something that most Game of Thrones fans and those of the history of dragons do not know. Cannibal, as it only was briefly touched, was a wild dragon that lived on Dragonstone during the dance of the dragons. He was called Cannibal by the small folk of Dragonstone because he would practice cannibalism, feasting on dead or newborn dragons and dragon eggs. He was one of 3 completely wild dragons dwelling on Dragonstone, the others being Sheep Stealer and Grey Ghost. It wasn't, I got her name wrong, but yeah, Dreamfire was a mature she-dragon. She was once the mount of Princess Rhaena Targaryen and later became the mount of Princess Helena Targaryen, which we will learn about later. Grey Ghost was a wild dragon that dwelt in a smoking vent high on the desolate eastern side of a volcano called Dragon Mount. He was named by Dragonstone's small folk, who could rarely find him. He was never claimed nor written by any man, living or dead. He is one of 3 wild dragons with Sheep Stealer and Cannibal. Sea Smoke was a dragon that had been previously ridden and left to go wild on Dragonstone. Shrikos, as again, was a young she-dragon bound to Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen during the Dance of the Dragons. Shrikos died in the dragon pit when it was invaded by a half-crazed angry mob after a one-handed prophet called the Shepherd began to rant against all dragons everywhere. This is little doubt that Shrikos killed scores of people in the dragon pit before being slain. Shrikos was never written. Silverwing was the dragon of Queen Alysanne Targaryen when she visited the Wall 200 years ago. Silverwing also fought in the civil war called the Dance of the Dragons. So that is our, all those that I've read, as I said, only the 6 that remained during the time of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen's reign of 55 years was, again, Valerian, the Black Dread, Vhagar, Dreamfire, Vermithor, Trishul, Shrikos, and that is the complete history of the 6 remaining dragons, not counting wild ones, those that had been killed or died of old age. Alyssa Valerian. Alyssa Valerian was a member of House Valerian, who became the queen of King Aenys I Targaryen. She served as queen regent to her son, King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. Later she married Lord Robar Baratheon and became Lady of Storm's End. In history, Alyssa was the daughter of King Aegon I, Targaryen's master of ships, Lord Aethan Valerian. She was Targaryen on her mother's side. Alyssa married her cousin Prince Aenys I Targaryen in 22 AC. The marriage was a political match. She gave birth to 6 children during this marriage: Rhaena, Aegon, Viserys, Jaehaerys, Alysanne, and Vaela Targaryen. Aenys became king in 37 AC, but died after only 5 years of troubled rule in 42 AC. Alyssa became a hostage of her good brother, King Maegor I Targaryen, when he usurped the Iron Throne from Aenys and Alyssa's eldest son, Prince Aegon. Alyssa remained a captive on Dragonstone until the death of Dowager Queen Visenya Targaryen in 44 AC. The chaos afterwards gave her an opportunity to escape with Jaehaerys and Alysanne, her 2 youngest living children. She also took Dark Sister Visenya's Valyrian steel sword. Alyssa's escape led to the death of her eldest living son, Viserys, who was tortured for 9 days until he died. His body was left in the courtyard of the Red Keep. As Maegor hoped Alyssa would come to claim it, she did not. Alyssa rallied lords to the claim of her only surviving son, Jaehaerys. The first to proclaim him was Robar Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End. Upon Jaehaerys' coronation in 48 AC, Alyssa became his regent. She kept this position until Jaehaerys reached his majority 2 years later. Half a year after stepping down as regent, she married the Hand of the King, Lord Robar Baratheon. With him, Alyssa had 2 more children, Bermund and Jocelyn Baratheon, who would then become the half-brother and half-sister to Jaehaerys I Targaryen, thus tying the bloodlines to the House of Baratheon. Robar Baratheon. Robar Baratheon was Lord of Storm's End and head of House Baratheon. He was Lord Orys Baratheon's grandson. In history, Lord Robar was the first great lord to openly proclaim for Prince Jaehaerys against his uncle Maegor the Cruel, also known as Maegor the Polygamous. For his loyalty and courage, he was named Protector of the Realm and Hand of the King, following Maegor's strange death upon the Iron Throne. During the remainder of King Jaehaerys' minority, Lord Robar shared the rule of the realm with the king's mother, the Dowager Queen Alyssa Valerian. Half a year after Jaehaerys came to rule on his own, Robar and Alyssa were wed. Their marriage would yield two children, Boromon and Jocelyn. Note, it is unclear if the character's name is Robar or Rogar. According to L.O. Garcia, Martin's notes for The World of Ice and Fire use both interchangeably, so they decided to use Robar in the print version in 2014. The short story, The Sons of the Dragon in 2017, however, consistently gives his name as Rogar. Ilio suspects that editor Gardner Dozois was faced with the same choice they were from the same inconsistent notes, but he went with Rogar instead. Elio advised to keep using Robar, his choice, until proven otherwise, and he'll ask Martin for further confirmation. Boromon Baratheon. Boromon Baratheon was Lord of Storm's End and head of House Baratheon during the reign of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. He died before the Dance of the Dragons began in 129 AC. Appearance and character. Lord Boromon was an old man when he died. He was belligerent. In history, when Lord Boromon was alive, House Baratheon was always a staunch supporter of the claims of Princess Rhaenys Targaryen and her children. Princess Rhaenys and her uncle, Lord Boromon, were always steadfast friends. Lord Boromon supported the claims of Princess Rhaenys' son, Sir Laenor Velaryon, at the Great Council of 101 AC to the Iron Throne. He had at least one son, Boros, who gave him 4 granddaughters. When Rhea Royce died in 115 AC, a raven was sent to Storm's End, and Lord Baratheon sent a messenger via ship to inform her husband, Prince Daemon Targaryen, who is warring in the Stepstones. As Boromon was old when he died, this lord was presumably him. Jocelyn Baratheon. Jocelyn Baratheon is a member of House Baratheon. She is the daughter of Lord Robar Baratheon and Lady Alyssa Valerian, and their second child together. In history, Alyssa Valerian, the widow of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, married Robar Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End, in 50 AC. The marriage produced 2 children, Boromon and Jocelyn. Jocelyn married the Prince of Dragonstone, Aemon Targaryen, the eldest living son, and heir apparent of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. Jocelyn and Aemon's daughter, and only child, Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, was born in 74 AC. In 92 AC, Prince Aemon died in battle, and King Jaehaerys passed over Rhaenys in favor of bestowing Dragonstone in the place of heir apparent upon his next eldest son, Prince Baelon. Aegon Targaryen, son of Jaehaerys I. Prince Aegon Targaryen was the eldest child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen, but he died young. It is uncertain as to how old he was when he had passed on. Perhaps he was about 9 or 10 years of age. Aemon Targaryen, son of Jaehaerys I. Prince Aemon Targaryen was a member of House Targaryen. He was the second-born son of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. Aemon was married to Lady Jocelyn Baratheon. Together they had a daughter, Princess Rhaenys Targaryen. Alyssa Targaryen. Princess Alyssa Targaryen was the second child and eldest daughter of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. In history, Alyssa was married to her younger brother, Baelon. They had 3 sons together, Viserys, Daemon, and Aegon. No, she was the second child only because the firstborn died young. Thus, the second-born, Aemon, and Alyssa became the second of those who lived to adulthood. Baelon Targaryen, son of Jaehaerys I. Prince Baelon Targaryen, also known as the Spring Prince for the season of his birth, and the Brave, was a member of House Targaryen and was the third-born son of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. He had 3 sons himself, Princes Viserys, Daemon, and Aegon. Daela Targaryen, daughter of Jaehaerys I. Princess Daela Targaryen was the 5th daughter of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and his sister wife, Queen Alysanne. Aeron Targaryen. Prince Aeron Targaryen was the 6th-born child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. He died young. Again, it is uncertain as to how old he was when he passed on, but perhaps he too was within 8 or 9 years of age. Vagon Targaryen. Vagan-born Prince Vagan Targaryen was an Archmaester of the Citadel. He was the seventh-born child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. He also called the Dragonless. History. The seventh child of King Jaehaerys I and Queen Alysanne, Vagan was given to the Citadel at a young age. He would go on to become Archmaester, holding the ring and rod and mask of yellow gold. Maegelle Targaryen. Princess Maegelle Targaryen was the eighth-born child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. In history, Maegelle was given to the faith of the Seven at an unknown age and eventually became a septa. She was known for her compassion and her gift for healing. Maegelle played a role in the Second Quarrel, which had begun in 92 AC, when her father, King Jaehaerys I, chose Maegelle's brother, Prince Baelon, as his heir over Maegelle's niece, Prince Rhaenys. This decision angered Queen Alysanne, as she felt there was no reason to favor a man over a woman. Maegelle brought the two back together, solving the quarrel in 94 AC. Maegelle nursed children afflicted with grayscale, but became afflicted with grayscale herself and died in 96 AC. Valerian Targaryen. Prince Valerian Targaryen was the ninth-born child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. He died young. Again, no certain age is specified, and perhaps he too was about within the eighth or ninth year of his birth. Visera Targaryen. Princess Visera Targaryen was the 10th-born child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. She was a high-spirited girl. In history, Visera was betrothed to Lord Mandarine of White Harbor. However, she raced drunkenly through the streets of King's Landing and died after falling from her horse. Though it is only a theory, there is no proof as to whether there was a boarding school for young girls and ladies in King's Landing, and if there was, the theory would be that perhaps it was unladylike to do what Visera Targaryen did. So therefore, to prevent one from acting unladylike and racing to her death, that young girls and ladies would go to boarding school for girls so that they could ride properly and in a dignified manner. Daemon Targaryen, son of Jaehaerys I. Prince Daemon Targaryen was a son of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. Again, he also died young. Perhaps he was within a certain elementary age. Jaehaerys Targaryen. Princess Jaehaerys Targaryen was a daughter of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alysanne Targaryen. In history, Princess Jaehaerys was one of the 13 children born to King Jaehaerys and his sister wife, Queen Alysanne. Her parents had given her to the faith of the Seven, but Jaehaerys' wishes were elsewhere. When she was a novice, Jaehaerys left the mother house and fled beyond the narrow sea. She stayed in Lys for a while before going to Volantis, where she eventually became the owner of a famous pleasure house. On his deathbed, King Jaehaerys mistook Lady Alicent Hightower for one of his daughters. Near the end, he grew convinced that Alicent was Zaera, returned from across the sea. Gael Targaryen. Princess Gael Targaryen was the 13th child of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen and Queen Alicent Targaryen. Born during winter, Gael was also called the Winter Child. Her character was that Gael was simple-minded and sweet. In history, Gael was the youngest of the children of Alicent and Jaehaerys and her mother's favorite. She disappeared from court in 99 AC and was said to have died from a summer fever. However, she had actually committed suicide by drowning herself in the Blackwater Bush. The reason for her suicide was that she had been seduced and abandoned by a traveling singer who had left her pregnant. In her grief, Queen Alicent would die within a year after Gael's death.
After William completes the extensive studies of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, William wasn't sure what to say. She sits down then. So, any thoughts on this, William? Well, I see why you would call him the old king. He ruled for a long time. But it seemed there were some sad moments in his life. Please go on. Well, his youngest sister didn't live past infancy before his mother had married this one from the House of Baratheon. Though she did have his half-brother and half-sister, and I can see where the bloodlines now tie into House Baratheon. Perhaps maybe that's why they feel they have a claim to the Iron Throne. You are getting wise, William. I'm impressed by this. Please continue. Well, in my world, we might consider it like that of a curse. The evilness, not to speak disrespectful of your house, but the evilness that Maegor the First had in his heart, and it only became worse when he married Tiana of the Tower. Though he mysteriously died on the Iron Throne for the realm of the kingdom, it somehow haunted, symbolically, King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, and this is why several of his children had died. Maybe not at infancy, but at certain ages of what we would call their elementary years. And so it was a curse that continued even though Maegor the First Targaryen was since then deceased. Yes, perhaps you are right. I am very impressed, William. You seem to be gaining much wisdom. Although I hope, well, she kind of looks down and thinks about it. I will miss some of the things you do that are unusual. Oh, you mean like my being naughty? I mean, I could still be naughty. Yes, I am sure you can. I think we need to go get another scroll. Oh, sorry. Well, I wasn't trying to say I'll continue being naughty. I just mean that I would continue, maybe by accident, being naughty. Yes, well, We'll discuss that later. So she gets up then and goes to get another scroll, shaking her head. I'm not sure why William would say something like that.